Heart to heart with Abba Heart to heart with Abba. Hello and welcome to Heart with Abba, a podcast in honor of celebrating families and everything about children, beginning with us. Confidently, this will inspire and encourage us to listen, defend, and advocate for our infants, toddlers, preschoolers, school age children, teenagers, and all children from across the board to help us see the world from their perspectives and offer support throughout their stages of development. Celebrate! Heart to Heart with Abba is sponsored by Stop Smart, your one-stop destination for staffing and non-medical concierge services for adults, teens, and children. For more information, I encourage you to visit www.staff-smart.org and by phone 480-875-6871. You are listening to Heart with Abba with your host, Abby Dominguez. If you love children, seeking presence over perfection, building secure attachment in a busy world, this podcast is for you. Today, I am delighted to bring you a Heart to Heart with Talia Bombola, the confidence and assertiveness specialist. She is a psychotherapist, nonprofit supervisor, and parent with a background in psychoanalysis. Talia, welcome to Heart with Abagaba. I am conversing with you from Mesa, Arizona. Please tell our listeners where we are connecting from and share a short bio.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Talia Bombola. I am a licensed marriage family therapist joining in from Orange County, California, so Southern California.
Yay.
And I really do feel like you did my bio justice. That was an excellent summary. I can go a bit more in depth, though I am a parent. I was a therapist for many years before I became a parent, and it was a wonderful surprise to see how much my training kicked in with parenting and noticing the level of confidence I felt because I was able to rest on the knowledge that I had about infant attachment and attachment theory and where tantrums might come from, or big feelings as it's known in our therapeutic community.
Yeah.
So I felt so passionate. I do still feel so passionate about connecting with other people who are parents and helping them to understand how to see the world from their baby's or their child's eyes. And it makes parenting ideally less stressful when we can slow down and go inward and understand, most of our triggers come from our own unhealed or untended to childhood wounds, or times where our parents may not have gotten it all the way right or exactly right. And then we promise ourselves, well, I'm never going to be like my mom, or I'm never going to be like my dad, until that first line comes out and we're like, blah, 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 or else. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what my parents would say. Why did I do that? And I work with so many parents who are like, but I told myself I wouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, but it's so much deeper than that. So
It
that's
is.
where the background in psychoanalysis, which is essentially how your unconscious thoughts affect and impact almost every decision that you make in your waking life, especially in your adult life, the template that infancy and childhood sets for our beliefs in the world and about ourselves and others. So that is my more extended bio of why I do the work that I do and what kind of work I do.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thanks for the addition. And on
Sure.
that note, I'm going to get my girl. She just woke up. I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds
Thank you
great. I'll be
so
here.
much. Thank you so much, Talia. I'm
Of
back.
course. I totally understand.
So I'm gonna ask my first question.
Sure.
So, what strategies do you recommend for individuals striving to preserve your identity while in a partnership?
So the one, well, I would say top strategy that I recommend, especially when you're looking at what quality and type of partnership you want,
Yeah.
is being mindful what draws you to, if you're already in the relationship, you can think of it this way, or if you're looking to get into a relationship, why am I attracted to who I'm attracted to? And then
Uh-huh.
also, why am I attractive to who I'm attractive to? So, like,
Ooh,
why do I choose the people I choose and why do they choose me is an important question to ongoingly answer.
I
And
love it.
understanding that that template often comes from where we were in our childhood and what was modeled to us, what we kind of it's called introjecting it, it's like taking it inward, but what we essentially took as a lesson of, okay, this is the kind of person that I want to be with, and
Mhm.
this is the kind of person that I want to or need to be as a partner. Now, not all the time are those models a healthy model or what we should strive for, so to
Uh-huh.
speak. So being able to maintain your sense of self when you're in a relationship comes from who am I as a person? So the inner work, the, let's say, individual therapy or self-growth is going to be at the forefront, especially if you're in a relationship. We don't just stop doing work on ourselves because we find someone. And most people do. They're like, oh, I'm in therapy or I'm in coaching and I want to discover who I am. And then they meet quote unquote the one or a one and
Uh-huh.
they're like, okay, and I'm done. And it's like, no, the work is just beginning. So continuing to pour into oneself and ask yourself, as much as it's a good fit for this person, do I like them? Do they like me? Am I getting my wants and needs met? Am I comfortable and safe expressing my wants and needs? Do I feel like this person is willing to meet me halfway? Do they take accountability? Looking for traits that you value in a relationship and also ensuring that you're able to express those within yourself and not mute yourself or dim your light is, I guess, the broadest overview that I would give to make sure somebody's not losing themselves in a
Yeah.
partnership and is continuing in a partnership that is fulfilling and aligned and out of desire, not out of, well, I have to do this or I may as well because fill in the blank reason.
Ooh, I love that. And I tried to hold my thought, but then I lost it. I
It's
love how
okay.
you said like how to continually pour on oneself. No, continually.
Yeah, pour into oneself and tend to yourself
Yes.
and do your inner
Yeah.
work and self-growth. Yeah, we
I
don't stop growing. Yeah.
we don't stop growing. That did
Yes.
big time resonate with me
Yeah.
highly. Like,
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing that.
Of
And
course.
can you elaborate on how personal development influences relationship dynamics?
Yes. So if you think about our first experiences with having, let's say, a crush or an interest in somebody else,
Uh-huh.
depending on what part of the world you're in, it's like around middle school or primary school, and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, that person's cute, or I like them, and we have common interests, and I want to spend more time with them. So if you come at it from a timeline, when we're young, we're figuring out who the world wants us to be. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like Carl Jung's theory that you spend the first approximately 25 years of your life being who everybody else wants you to be and tells you that you are, and then the rest of your life discovering if any of that was true, and if not, who you really are and how to unapologetically be that authentic self. So,
Yeah.
so continuing to do the personal growth that starts from the beginning and those messages again around like primary school or around middle school is, oh, the messages that we often get are, well, they did that because they liked you, or do you like this person, or who's dating so and so. There's so much of the cultural narrative around who you are in society as like if you're in a relationship or not. And I think we can benefit from shifting away from that. And part of our personal development as it affects our relationships is understanding who am I as a self and do I like myself? And then do I love myself? Those questions start with, do I know myself?
Yeah.
Who am I really? Do I feel known by the people around me? And continuing personal development assists us in those relationships, starting from our younger years all the way into adulthood, especially if we're picking a partner that we would like to have a family with or that we do have a family with. Is this partner somebody who aligns with my values? Is this partner somebody who is willing to do the work and do their own personal growth journey? Or is it going to be more of an unequal relationship, which is often what I see in my therapy practice? One person is so into self-development, they listen to every podcast and they read every book. And then
Mhm.
the other person is along for the ride and they're like, yeah, cool. Like, I like that you like that, but I've never read a book on self-development. You seem to have that covered. So making sure we're finding a community and ideally a relationship where there's at least somewhat of an equal match of self-growth and self-development, because personal development changes how you view yourself and changes how you view your partner. A lot of relationships last, honestly, sometimes longer than they should because neither person is looking inward and being honest with themselves and
Hmm.
going, yeah, this doesn't work for me anymore. But it's the sunk cost fallacy. Well, I've been in it so long, I may as well stay. That's not exactly the most romantic thing and to put in
Yeah.
someone's vows or your R story page. Like, we were already dating 7 years and I figured why start over? Like, if people were being honest, some would say that, but personal development allows you to continue to see, is what I'm choosing in my life and who I'm choosing to partner with aligned for me anymore or not? And if not, how do I exit gracefully with kindness to myself and the other person? And how, like, leaving when it's time to go is also another part of personal development in relationships.
Talia, you are so good. Oh my goodness. I'm listening and I'm soaking it all in for myself too.
Oh, I
Oh
love
my
that.
goodness. This is wonderful. And I'm so dying to know the answer to this question
Yes.
or the insight to this question. So, how can, wait, okay, hold on. I have my thought here.
Yes.
Am I gonna lose it?
You've got
Okay.
it.
How can, thank you. How can couples effectively manage and communicate their expectations to strengthen your bond?
Okay, so expectations are something that another person should do without me having to ask. That's kind of like the quippy definition. We all have expectations.
Yeah.
Expectations are typically stemming from what did or did not happen to us in childhood, what our parents did or did not attune to or like intuit for us in childhood, how well they were there, especially during infancy, which I can go down a small tangent if it's relevant after this next point. And then also societal and media impact, how our relationships portrayed to us. That also is part of our family system. What kind of relationships were portrayed? Was everybody screaming and arguing and everybody got divorced, or was everybody happy and able to have conflict and navigate? Or the middle, like the other side of it is like no one ever fought anytime. And so conflict was never modeled. So being able to manage and communicate expectations stems from understanding what are my expectations? What are the unspoken things in a relationship I want or need to either have or not have happen? And the parentheses is like without me having to ask. How am I subtly hinting to my partner? How am I punishing them if they don't pick up on that was an expectation?
Mhm.
And there's a need for assertive communication around identifying our own expectations, which is really, if you do the deeper work, what do I want and what do I need to
Mhm.
either not have happen or to have happen for this to be a successful relationship? And then learning in a strengths-based way to vocalize that to our partner and understand that there's a motivation that your partner has if you're in a healthy relationship to meet your want or need. But if we
Yeah.
don't ask in a way that they feel like they're winning at it, or we don't ask in a way that's not critical, the likelihood that the want or need will be fulfilled goes way down
Mhm.
because no one's really motivated to get to zero. So couples can effectively manage and communicate those expectations by doing the inner work, right? That's where the personal development comes in. What are my wants and needs? And what am I expecting to have happen without me having to ask? Write it all down and take a look at how that plays out in the relationship that you're in, and then have a honest, multiple, usually, but at least one conversation with your partner of, oh, I had this expectation because of my childhood. My dad cooked for my mom every day she got home from work, that you
Mhm.
would do that. And I realized that hasn't happened. And all I've done is be passive aggressive and, or yelled at you when it hasn't
Right.
happened. I didn't even think to ask, hey, it would mean so much to me if we could keep that memory alive and honor it. And,
Oh,
my partner might go, okay, I can do that on Wednesdays and Thursdays, but I can't do that the other days of the week. So there's still a willingness there. That's
right.
another trait that I think couples can effectively manage and communicate their expectations, is having a level of willingness that it's not going to be, I can do this maybe all the time 100%, but whenever I can, you have my word that I'll do my best at it. I think that's reasonable.
I love the willingness. Willingness is better than nothing in
Yes,
this
yes.
situation. So I love that. Oh my goodness. What is the connection between self-esteem and financial success? And how can individuals work on both simultaneously?
So my one of my theories that I coined is the connection between like self-worth and net worth, that increasing your self-worth ideally naturally increases your net worth, but that's not to say the inverse is true, that your self-worth is based on how much you have in the bank.
Mhm.
So I think there's a benefit to looking at self-esteem versus self-worth. So self-esteem is how you feel about yourself, and then
Yes.
self-worth is, do you have worth as a person? Like, do you believe you have
Right.
worth?
Hmm.
So having self-esteem and financial success is like a two-way street. So if you have confidence in your decision making, then ideally you will be more likely to take calculated financial risks like investing, negotiating your salary, or starting your business. So naturally, having higher self-esteem would create a situation in which you could advocate for yourself more.
Yeah.
People with higher self-esteem are more comfortable setting either higher rates for services, asking for raises, or not settling for less, and
Yeah.
having more of an abundance mindset of I believe I deserve success, which is going to influence my earning behavior and my goal setting. So on the flip side of that, if we don't have the self-esteem we'd like, if we have low self-esteem, that can sometimes sabotage earning potential. If we're undercharging, we have imposter syndrome, we're
Hmm.
avoiding leadership roles, and having financial struggles can worsen our self-worth, especially, again, that's why I cash in. Don't tie it necessarily that, oh, I have this much money in the bank, that means I'm this worth as a person. No, it's
No.
the opposite of if I work on my self-worth and I believe no matter what, I'm worthy as a person and I'm deserving as a person,
Hmm.
I will naturally start to see more abundance in my life, and then working on unlearning unhealthy childhood narratives around money or money wounds and tending to them and replacing it with more positive views of money and imagining your relationship with money was a real person. How would you treat it and how would it treat you? And if you have low self-esteem, you're likely speaking to it in a sense of, you're never there for me, you're never around, why aren't you enough? Well, if you said that
Yeah.
to any other real relationship, why would they show up, right? So the connection between self-esteem and success in terms of high self-esteem is, thank you, money, for always being there for me. I appreciate that you're always there. Even when I, doubted that you would show up, you really pulled through for me. I just want you to know I see you and thank you. That's going to bring more of that abundance mindset because money is going to be like, oh, wow, they were really appreciative of what I was doing. I'm going to show up more. So you don't want to reenact that scarcity or financial instability mindset
Yeah.
from whatever your childhood was, if that was the case. So working on your self-esteem and self-worth, in my view and the work I do with my clients, both in coaching and in therapy, their mindset shift internally starts to shift their external narrative. They continue to put themselves in more positive situations where there's more abundance of any resource, time, money, energy, what they're being given from others and what they can give to others, that
Mhm.
they gravitate more towards that. So it's like once you get the ball rolling, it's really hard to stop that in motion.
It is. Wow. So how can parents begin to cultivate secure attachments with their children, especially in those critical first 3 years?
Yeah, so the first 1,000 days, the first 3 years set the tone, honestly, for the rest of your child's life and everything that they do, which I know is a very daunting fact to face, an uncomfortable and inconvenient truth, but it's a necessary one to realize. And the good news is, even if we don't get it right from 0 to 3, the second window we have as an opportunity is from 9 to 25 during adolescence.
Mhm.
Before the frontal lobe fully develops, approximately around 25. More research has come out that it could be later than that, but we'll go with the average for the sake of today's interview. How
Right.
parents can cultivate secure attachment is learning about attunement and learning to regulate and heal your own internal struggles around your own infancy and childhood wounds and learn from them, but keep them separate from informing in a negative way how you interact with your child. So if you were, left to cry for yourself, if your mom went back to work after 4 to 6 weeks, or you
Mhm.
were passed around a lot to family members and you didn't have that secure base because you weren't attuned to,
Mhm.
your feeling around safety and security in the world is going to look different, to put it neutrally, than somebody who maybe their mother was able to stay home, ideally the first 3 years, but in some capacity, if they couldn't, there was one other primary attachment figure or one nanny or one grandparent set that could be there as almost like a stand-in. There's absolutely no replacement for that maternal attachment.
Mhm.
However, as a child gets older, being able to have secure attachments with other people, and secure attachment is essentially my child feels comfortable when I am close to them, and they
Yeah.
also have the fortitude and the wherewithal to know there will be tended to even when I'm away from them. I always come back, and they, not that they prefer to be separate, but they
Mhm.
can learn and be comfortable with being close and separate, which is different from children who have anxious attachment. They're
Yeah.
tougher to soothe, and they don't feel like somebody is consistently going to be there for them, so they're more
Oh,
frantic when they're separated from their parents, and they're tougher to calm down when they reunite. And then avoidant attachment is, well, I learned the lesson, no one's coming for me, so I'm really going to be indifferent if my parent leaves. And when they come back, I might not go to them, I might not express any emotion. And then the other attachment style is disorganized, where it's kind of a mix of anxious and avoidant. I love you, please don't leave me. I want you close, but when you're close,
oh.
I might push or hit you because I don't know how to feel. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're going to be there for me or not. I can't trust you, and I can't feel secure if I can't trust you. So
Yeah.
parents can cultivate secure attachment by prioritizing the connection with their infant and child in those first 1,000 days, being present. Even if you have to work, clock
Mhm.
out once you get home. Do not be on your phone. Don't
Mhm.
be on your computer. Narrate what you're doing, even if it's I have to step away and go to the restroom. I'll be right back, and not treating childhood like, oh, they're just going to forget anyway. In
Right.
fact, do
Right.
not forget. And you and I both have littles. This is the most important time of their life for us to be present and be not obsessed in a creepy way, but just like so enamored with the way that they view the world and see the
Yeah.
world through their
Yeah.
eyes,
Yeah.
and learn to slow down and regulate and understand your triggers might come from, wow, my kid is having a big feeling and a tantrum. When this happened to me and I was in a grocery store, I got screamed at and I felt internalized shame. You don't have to do that to your kid. You can get down on their eye level, give them a hug, take a deep breath, and narrate. It looks like you're having a really tough time right now. I'm here for you. I love you. I'll do anything that you need. If you need to take a break, right? It's you staying calm so they can borrow your nervous system and learn to
Yes.
regulate. And the more you show up and the more you follow through on your word and you attune and bother to get to know your child and care about their inner world, the increased likelihood they will develop secure attachment.
Talia, if you could see me, I'm almost in tears.
Oh.
I'm so touched by what you said,
Mm.
and I'm not even gonna try to um, say the verbiage you used. It hit home to me. I have littles,
Yeah.
and the first 3 years of their lives, and the 9 to 25, and all
Yep.
that resonates with me so much. And I was a preschool teacher before I came home to be a full-time mom,
Mm.
and those things were familiar, but like it hit me differently today
Yeah.
than I've ever in training or whatever. So
Felt it.
you're doing an amazing work, and
Thank you.
it just it was just beautiful. There are no words. It's priceless.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, in today's fast-paced, achievement-oriented culture, how can parents prioritize emotional availability over performance-based parenting? I know we may have touched on that, but I
To
would take,
further expand, yeah.
yes. Hmm.
Understanding that the relationship we have with our children is not going to follow the same script as corporate or business America or what or the world would. It's not a corporation, it's not a business. It
Hmm.
is far more emotional than that. And the fast-paced world, the world's going to go on around us, whether we, participate or not, or whether we like it or not. But for
Yeah.
the world of our child, it's obvious, but to say it makes it even more obvious in a kind of way we can learn from. They're only as old and have as much knowledge as their chronological age on earth and their experiences. And so to slow down and understand when our children need us, we might not feel as though the need is as pressing as they do. And I caution parents to dismiss that, or to, like we said, be on the phone or be otherwise occupied in the presence of our children.
Yeah.
We attune to them and we miss opportunities to attune to them. Those ruptures, especially if they go without repair over time, can worsen and degrade the attachment that we have with our parents. If I consistently go to you and you're not there for me, or you're
Right.
physically present but you're emotionally absent,
Right.
kids feel
Yeah.
that. And I think
You
the narrative,
do.
thankfully, that's shifting is, oh, they're just a kid, they'll never remember. In fact, I can't tell you how many people sit across from me on the couch and cite it was this one memory when I was 3 years old that set the tone for how they view trust, how they view relationships, how
Yeah.
they view the ability to ask for help, or the lesson of I had to rely on myself, all from those young years, anything under 5, really being in such a fast-paced culture and world, slowing down and understanding time is the one thing you can never get back or make more of, and time with your
Wow.
kids is the most finite and precious resource you'll ever be given. The meetings can wait, the projects can wait, the money, there's always more money to be made available in the future.
Yeah.
It is not worth any resource is not worth sacrificing any more than you literally have to survive that time with your kids. And when you're with them, and when you're present in front of them, the whole other world melts away. Anything outside that front door, that
Oh,
backyard door does not exist.
oh,
It's the suspended in time and you're with your children, and
oh.
they're waiting for you all day. Even
They
if we're away
are.
from them for a little bit, they're not like a vase on the mantle, and inanimate, and then as soon as we walk in the door, they animate and they're ready for us. They have
Yes,
wants and needs. They've wanted us all day, and it's our job to keep that in mind and not be away more than necessary. And as
yes.
children are older, they can build a tolerance to be away a bit longer. But from 0 to 3, they need us, as you know,
Yeah,
24/7. Their needs do not stop. And if
yeah.
we didn't have somebody model what it was like to have our needs met, it's going to feel difficult at first to meet the needs of another. But the more power to the therapy or the parents who go to therapy and do the work of, I want to be there for my kids. I don't want to be frustrated with how much they need me, because it puts me against my own dependency needs. And where did I need somebody and they weren't there for me is usually at the root of why people get so fast paced in the beginning, because they strive for success. They feel good. They get accolades, in parenting,
Mhm.
especially if they're little. They're not giving us awards. We're not winning. We're not getting bonuses. We're getting thrown up on an oatmeal in places it doesn't belong. So it's a thankless job in some senses, but it's the most gratifying job in other senses. And we have to learn to slow down and really be present for those pivotal moments, because you never know what's going to become a core memory for your kids.
Yeah, yeah. That is so touching. Oh my goodness. How does a parent's own attachment history impact the way they show up for their child? What steps can they take to become more conscious of these patterns?
So a parent's attachment history in my practice and my view impacts everything in every possible way of how you show up for your child. And if you haven't taken, if you're listening to this and you're like, what's an attachment style or what is my history? Being able to go online, I have some resources too I can share for you to give to the listeners. Being able to take an assessment on an attachment inventory and understand, where do you fall? Are you securely attached, or are you in one of those categories I touched on earlier of
Mhm,
insecure attachment? And is there a way for the parents often ask, well, is there a way for me to quote unquote heal if I am in an insecure attachment style? The answer is yes.
yeah.
It will feel more um, arduous at times when you're trying to navigate cultivating something you've never had with your child, i.e., a secure attachment.
Yeah.
But reading books like Raising Securely Attached Kids or anything by Dan Siegel, who does neuroscience work, it actually allows you to reparent and heal your inner child and that relationship to have a secure attachment with the self, while you're also cultivating that with your child. So the way that you were attuned to or misattuned to in your infancy and childhood sets the tone for not only what is going to come easier, but what's going to be more difficult for you when you are parenting your outer child, your actual
Mhm,
kids. And how you can work to heal that is by understanding where you're starting from and deepening the understanding of moving towards a secure attachment and then deepening it. Or if you're already securely attached and still find yourself triggered by certain examples, perhaps going to therapy and tending to, where does this trigger stem from? Because we can have an overall great childhood and moderately secure attachment and
mhm.
still feel missed in some areas. And that's what we need to work on with our kids to make sure we don't make the same mistakes, if you will.
I love that. And I know we may have touched on this question, but I want some more insight if you may. How
Mhm.
can parents effectively repair moments of disconnection or misattunement with your children?
So moments of disconnection often come from, my child had a need that I either didn't attune to because I wasn't paying attention. I did see but couldn't get to it right away for whatever the reason is, or I don't know what a want or a need looks like. So I was really trying. I'm there, I'm trying to translate whatever they want, but I just couldn't for the life of me figure it out. So when a rupture is created, the ability to make a repair as quickly and as attuned as possible is the goal. So even if you do snap or you do lose your temper sometimes, or you get frustrated, or you're trying to get something done and something spills and you snap, being able to own and say, I get on their eye level, and if they
Mhm.
feel comfortable with you being near them,
Yeah,
because sometimes if they're feeling activated and crying, they don't want that closeness, but you can
right.
still get near them and look at them in the eye. That's very important.
Mhm.
And as young as they are, I talk to my daughter, even though she's under 5, I talk to her like she's 15. I'm like, I'm sorry I yelled.
I
That
love it.
wasn't fair to you. I apologize. My temper, and then some parents I work with, they're like, my temper is something I'm working on. That wasn't you at all. That was a me thing. That doesn't make it hurt any less. That is my bad, and I own it. Let's try that again. And it
Yeah,
also teaches your child that relationships can recover from conflict, like I touched on in the beginning.
yeah.
If that wasn't modeled to us, we're not going to know to be able to do that to our children. And some
So,
people, again, who don't view children as people, like just because they're littler than you doesn't mean they're less than you. You
yeah.
still have to talk to them and treat them with respect, and like that sense of like, I apologize. I yelled. That was not you, or I lost my cool. I'm working on it. And if they're older, if you have feedback for me, please let me know. And making it a mutual respect and admiration, I think, is how I would recommend repairing ruptures as soon as you can, as
Yes,
thoroughly as you can, and don't be afraid to apologize and take ownership and accountability.
yes.
It will actually lessen the likelihood there will be a occurrence of more ruptures if you're also doing the work on yourself.
Oh, I so love it. Oh my goodness, Talia, it's been so wonderful to have you visit with us today on Heart to Heart with Abagaba. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share with us? Website, social media handles where we can follow you to learn more about the great work you're doing? Would love anything you want to share with us.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I can actually, I don't think I would do all of it justice by vocalizing it. So I'm happy to send a follow-up email with some resources I think might be helpful for your listeners. And then if
Okay.
people want to know where to find me, my website for therapy, anyone in California who's a resident would qualify, is therapywithtalia.com. And then I also have a coaching practice where I help individuals, but also parents and parent coaching. And that's taliabombola.com. So my first and last name. I'm most active on Instagram. My handle is my name, and then TikTok as well. I think I'm across most platforms. I use a service that pushes all my content out online, so that's been very convenient. So you can find me almost any corner of the internet if you're wanting more.
That is wonderful. And again, I would like to thank you so very much for sharing your light, knowledge, and love and heart with us today.
Yeah.
So, if you have any more final thoughts, that'd be great. If not, then thank you so much again for visiting with us. And I look forward to connecting with you again sometime.
Yes, I would love to. I feel complete with everything I shared today, so I think I'm good.
Yay, that is wonderful. Heart to Heart with Abagaba is also sponsored by Aspire Behavioral Health. They offer monitoring, counseling, medication, and personal care services in a beautiful residential setting. I encourage you to contact them at aspirecbh@outlook.com or call 480-875-6871. Please feel free to share this podcast with your friends, families, and loved ones. And if you would like to connect with me, the best place would be on my website, abigailedominguez.com, or on social media. You can follow me on Instagram at author_Abigail_Dominguez. And we have a new YouTube channel at Heart to Heart with Abagaba. So please feel free to check us out also. And finally, I'd like to make a disclaimer that the stories and points of views we have shared on this podcast are personal and from our life and work experiences. We are not legal, medical, mental, or health advisors. Have an awesome day, and I look forward to connecting with you again on this platform. Be your light, be joyful, and as always, celebrate.